At Nous, we partner with clients across a huge range of interesting, challenging, exciting, and complex issues. Having good conversations is a huge part of what we do. A Little Bit of Nous is a podcast miniseries that explores big topics through good conversations.
Hi, I'm your host, Alan Dorsey. I work at our Nous Melbourne office, and I love getting to chat with all of my really interesting colleagues about all the things that they're passionate about. And today, I got to sit down with Rachel, and we talked about something I've been seeing all over the place, and that is co-design. We talk about what it really means beyond this just buzzword, and we talk about what it means when organizations really invest in it, and also what happens if they miss it, and what people can get wrong, and most importantly, what happens when they get it right. So grab your coffee and let's jump in. Well, welcome to the podcast, Rachel. It's so good to have you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So you are a director here at Nous, and you specialize in human-centered design, and you work across a range of sectors. We're looking at transportation, we're looking at aviation, emergency management, education. Big range.
It sure is.
And also, before that, in a previous life, you were a speechwriter in Canberra for foreign dignitaries, is that right?
That's right.
Amazing. I'm thinking about the West Wing the whole time, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's essentially it. We do a lot of walking down corridors. You've got a short amount of time to pin down the nature of a speech.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pure West Wing.
And you're also a lover of two of my favorite things, the M's I call them, markets and mountains.
Big time.
A lot of walking.
Yes, walking, wandering, climbing, all of the above.
So good.
Yeah.
And you're here today because I've been seeing this a lot on LinkedIn. It's a kind of a word that's going around, co-design. Can you tell me, it feels like it's a term that could be a big umbrella for a lot of things. What does it actually mean in practice?
It's a great question. Co-design is very in vogue at the moment. I like to explain it by breaking down the word co-design. Co means with, design means the creation of something. So you're creating something with people. That is it in its kind of purest, simplest form. But co-design, the other way to explain it is to think about it in the context of participatory engagement. And you can think of participatory engagement as a spectrum. So on one end, you have where you sort of listen and respond to people. At the other end, you have sort of, I guess, the purest co-design is that kind of empower model where people are involved in really driving the decision making. And we tend to work more in the middle, which is more of that collaborate type where we know where we want to get to, but we're involving people in the design of. And I think it's really important when we talk about co-design, as you say, it can be a real sort of umbrella term, is for us to be really specific about the level of co-design that we are focusing on. And I think it's a really important piece from a risk management perspective, both for clients to be really clear on what their purpose is, but also for the people you're involving, that they understand what level of impact or influence might they have on the decision and what might that involvement look like.
And so, as I said, you work across a big range of sectors, bringing all types of different kind of stakeholders together to kind of think and design together. And so I wonder, what does it look like when it's really successful?
I think when a lot of people think about co-design and success, they picture a workshop with a whole heap of sticky notes, right? And I'd say that's part of it, but I think when it's really successful, there's a lot of work that's happened before that point where you've got people in a room going wild with their sticky notes. I think the first part is really about defining the problem and really understanding, is this a problem that is right for co-design? Is it something that stands to benefit from the involvement of people with lived experience of the problem? Also, where are you at in terms of, in the context of, like, how far along are we in solving this problem? If we already know the solution, co-design probably isn't the right mechanism to use, right? You know, perhaps we're going out and doing some testing and validation, but it's not necessarily co-design. So I think doing that work up front to understand the authorising environment, the nature of the problem to be solved, what some of the existing sort of challenges and opportunities are, so that you're bringing all of that into the room when you're bringing those people into the room to co-design with them.
So there's kind of like this, before work you really think about what you want to do, what you want to achieve, then you bring the people together, then you kind of build these things. So I wonder, for a business, what happens if we just say, oh, I'm skipping those steps, I'm not going to do co-design? What's at risk? What's at stake?
Yeah. I think where we don't co-design, often we design on the basis of assumptions, which is risky. It means that we can be investing a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort in designing something that may not be fit for purpose. And an example I came across in my previous life, did a lot of work in infrastructure. There was the design of a school, and they produced this beautiful school, sparkling, ready to open. They started to bring in the students, and what they found, the school had a number of students in wheelchairs, and they discovered once they entered the school that the doors were too heavy for these students to be able to open and go through with their wheelchairs. So it led to a very expensive stripping out of all the doors to replace all of them. And had they stopped and upfront thought, who are we designing for? Perhaps brought some people in to understand what are some of their common challenges and pitfalls, this could have been avoided. So it's really, I guess we often frame co-design as a process that also helps to risk-proof design.
That is so interesting. I mean, it's just such a helpful reminder. It's like we bring people along, we bring them together, and then it helps us actually create something better, create something more equitable, create for purpose, really.
Absolutely. And the equity piece is really key in who we think about who we're designing with.
So we've heard now what happens if we skip it. Not great. But what's a great example of success? What's a great example of we've brought these people together and it really changed the outcome?
We just finished a project with Australian Red Cross. We were brought in to support the sustainability of their community-led resilience team, so working up in the Northern Rivers. There are a number of small communities, very isolated, multiple times impacted by floods, fires, often get completely cut off. So big focus on how do they get local people to support one another, support neighbours, sort of on a street level, be more prepared for disasters, and then also to be able to respond without necessarily needing to wait for authorities. And Red Cross has a number of these teams that are up, and they've been working for the last few years, and they're asking the question, how do we support these teams to do what they do better? And to support their sustainability into the future. So we did some initial work meeting up with some of the members of these teams, sitting on their verandas, having a yarn, understanding what's working really well, what they find difficult, had a number of these conversations over a number of weeks, and then brought back all of that research, synthesised it internally, came up with some ideas on what sort of, I guess, synthesised some of the challenges and the opportunities, and then we went back out and we ran a series of workshops over a couple of months with these same people who talked to us about the challenges. We played back to them what we'd heard, and we checked that with them. Did we get that right? And so what we produced in collaboration with these teams was a series of tools and resources. And what was really beautiful is that they could see their articulation of the challenge and their ideas reflected in the ultimate package that we produced. And so I guess we wrapped up this project knowing that what had been created was going to be really fit for purpose because it was created with the people who own the challenge. So we worked really closely with these people most affected by the challenge, leveraging their expertise. There were pockets where people had really great existing tools and resources. In other areas, we were able to identify new things that needed to be created to solve some of those existing challenges. And where we landed was a package of tools and resources that were really fit for purpose, that were really flexible and dynamic. It was one of the key design principles that we'd identified up front. And it also challenged a number of the assumptions. Coming into this project, we had thought that where we would land would be this brilliant online repository full of resources that people could download. And one of the realities that we heard is that internet connection, very patchy. You often have a number of people who aren't digitally connected, and so the co-design process also informed the shape and the nature of those outputs. You know, there is an option for it to be accessed digitally, or also in a folder that people can grab and go in case of an emergency.
Yeah, it would have been such a shame to miss those pockets of people, of course, without that, who maybe didn't have that digital connection. How important to actually capture those folks. That's really, really great.
Absolutely.
And I also think I loved hearing about the verandas. How fun to just kind of, what a great thing to be able to just go out and sit and be with people's verandas and really talk. And it makes me think, you know, we are moving towards, of course, a really digital future. And so what role do you think co-design has?
Two things come to mind. I think the first is there's something inherently human about co-design, and the role that we play as facilitators, brokering the voice of experience, the voice of design, the voice of expertise, bringing those voices together to reach a solution is something that is just so critical. And I think as we're moving towards a more a more digital future, it's very easy to get caught up in the design of the system and be thinking about functional requirements and the technical specifications. And what can get missed in that is that ultimately we're designing these systems for people, right? And thinking about, well, who's going to be using these systems, and not just kind of the core in the middle, but those on the fringe who might not be front of mind in thinking about how we design. You know, we talk a lot about designing for equity, and so I think co-design, and often we're designing with traditionally marginalised people. I think it ensures that we are designing with humanity in how we build these systems.
Oh, that sounds so important, and it's great to hear that, you know, no matter what, even in this digital future, there's still a role for co-design, and it's in fact maybe more important than ever to really be thinking about everyone and how we bring them along.
Absolutely.
So great, Rach. What a lovely conversation.
It sure is.
You know, we do this every time, and in each of the podcasts. I'm on the hunt for better books to read this year. So do you have any book recommendations?
I do. A book I've read recently that's really stayed with me is The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. A brilliant book that really unpacks what it is to gather effectively. She is someone who has a great interest in why is it that some meetings, parties, events take off and do really well, and why do others fail? And she unpacks that in the role of the host and has some very sort of deliberate rules in thinking through how we host. She's a firm advocate against the idea of a chill host. It's about having rules, about, you know, people really understanding why they have been brought into a space, and also breaking down from, you know, she talks a lot about sort of the way people enter a space, the way people exit a space, and kind of everything that happens in between being so critical. And she talks about it in a sense as something to design for, and that this can have a bearing on whether a gathering feels quite sort of transactional or whether it can feel quite transformative if we're really deliberate and purposeful in the approach.
Do you want to know what? As someone who loves to host a dinner party, I think I'm going to add this to the top of my list before the weekend. I think it's really critical reading before the weekend.
Great call.
Well, thanks again, Rachel. It has been an absolute pleasure. And I'll see you around the office, I think.
Sure will. Thanks, Alan.
Nous Group is an international management consultancy, and for the past 25 years, we've helped public, private, and not-for-profit clients deliver better outcomes for their customers, communities, and society. You can explore more of what we do on our website at www.nousgroup.com or follow us on socials.